So today we're going to be talking about a hybrid that I've been testing with my regular string Solinco Confidential in the main, and in the cross Kirschbaum Max Power Rough. Now for those who follow this will already know, but for those who don't, I have been using Solinco Confidential in a full bed for about the last couple of months at 54 pounds with a 10% pre-stretch. I put the pre-stretch on just because it gets rid of the break-in period and it makes the string last longer. This is the 1.25, the 16L Confidential. Absolutely loved it. It gives precision, control, feel, crispness, and if you swing hard, it will definitely give power back. But I've always craved just a little bit more power, sort of 10 to 15% more, but I don't want to lose any of the qualities like the control and the feel and the touch and the crispness. So I did try recently Headlinks Tour Black, which is super stiff setup, but when you got it off the sweet spot, it just went like a rocket, more powerful than this if you swung hard and got it in the middle. So it kind of said to me, there's a little bit more there. I can get more power and still control it. I looked across the strings I had and I've decided to do a hybrid with one of my favorite strings that I've used a lot, Kirschbaum Max Power Rough. So what I wanted to see was, could this give me that bit extra power without taking away from the main characteristics of Solinco Confidential in the main, but also not taking it too far where suddenly the power became too much. It's a really tall order. So how did it go? So as I mentioned, I dug through and it was just kind of gut feel really, because I've got a whole bunch of strings I could try and I am going to try more. But I just picked out and went Kirschbaum Max Power Rough. I know it's a stiff string. This is the 1.25. I've strung it up at 54 pounds in the cross. And I know that it gives you power and good spin, but it also is quite controlled. Definitely not a comfortable string, but it's got that kind of crisp, controlled feel, but it gives more power. I knew that. So I thought, let's put it in the crosses. It was just kind of a very spur of the moment thing. Now, why did I go 54 pounds when I got the Confidential at 54 pounds with a 10% pre-stretch? Well, do you know what? It was just a bit of a gut feel, to be perfectly honest. I decided not to pre-stretch it because I've only put the pre-stretch on Confidential because I know that it gets rid of the break-in and it makes it last longer. I've tried pre-stretch on other strings and I think it didn't really work. So I left it off the Max Power Rough. So what was the result? For me, this is the first poly hybrid that has worked. I've hybrided before when I used Kirschbaum Max Power Rough. I had it with multi-filaments in, I was using heavier rackets. I've never found a hybrid poly system that works for me. This one absolutely gelled, and here's why. So number one, definitely got the power increase. And I measure that a lot on the serve. I would say I felt like I could get 10, 15% extra power on my flat serve in particular without really putting much more in. It just gave back more than I put in, but it wasn't crazily uncontrolled. At the same time, on my ground strokes, I didn't suddenly find I was putting the ball way long. It was still, I could rip through the ball and get incredibly controlled power. But alongside that, the Max Power Rough has either allowed the Confidential to bring out the spin. I think more likely the rough string in the crosses, the Kirschbaum Max Power Rough, just gives this big heavy spin, so you feel like you're getting a powerful heavy ball, which to me is absolute utopia. In terms of the on-court performance, I've been using this now for about 2 weeks. I think I've played about 6 or 7 matches. I've played 2 mixed doubles ties, I've played a couple of singles matches, I've played quite a few hitting sessions, I've been in squads, I've been hitting with the kids. I have not put this down, and one of the big measures for me is if I've got a racket with a string I like, the full bed of Confidential in my bag, do I run back to it at a certain point? I haven't even touched those rackets. Every time I've gone to the bag, this is the racket I've wanted with a hybrid of Kirschbaum and Solinco. But let me be really clear, this is an incredibly stiff setup. These are not comfort strings. Don't get the illusion when I talk about power that you're suddenly going to find it pinging off this. I strung up a friend's Babolat Pure Aero with Kirschbaum Max Power Rough in a full bed at 52 pounds and he felt like the ball wasn't going anywhere. He's probably a bit smaller than me and probably relies on a bit more from the strings, but I'll tell you, this is not a comfortable or free power setup. This is for someone who hits big, hits hard, and does not mind a stiff setup. But saying that, if you are aggressive, if you hit it in the sweet spot, if your timing's good, and if you commit to your shots, you are going to get rewarded massively without losing control. So to that end, who is this set up for? Someone who wants power but also wants control. Probably the biggest contradiction there is. Someone who is taking full and fast swings. Someone who hits with a lot of spin. It's really going to reward you. Someone who does like that firm, connected feel to the ball. And someone who has no care, wish or desire for comfort. And therefore, who's it not for? Any player that wants a comfortable setup, you'll feel like your arm's going to fall off, particularly at these tensions. If you want to keep the racket speed low, forget about it. The ball will probably drop off the strings onto the ground in front of you. Not quite that bad. People who rely on the string for power, not swinging through it, and people who like that trampoline style response. This would be like trying to trampoline on a piece of plywood. So for me at the moment, I'm not going to say I have switched to this, because now what it says to me, hybrids can work. And what's interesting is conventional wisdom says that the main string, typically that's the majority characteristic you're going to find if you have a hybrid. And you know what? I would agree with that. The precision, the crispness, the feel, that comes through from Confidential. The cross is then acting like a supporting act where it's bringing that extra power and that spin, but those are kind of secondary. So this says to me Confidential can do very well as a main hybrided. The next one I'm going to try is putting Solinco Mach 10, which I'm going to string a bit higher than when I tested it before. That I think is going to be more powerful. So I'm going to try and stretch the boundaries of how powerful can I go, but still retain control, because ultimately the most power you can handle is surely the best thing in tennis. A lot of people might argue against that point, however. Finally, I do just want to put a mention on price and value, because Solinco Confidential, you can get it for £110 a reel, Kirschbaum Max Power Rough, £75 a reel. So on average, £92.50 per reel. That is a really good setup for what is, I think, an incredibly high performance hybrid. So that's it from me. This being the review of Solinco Confidential 16L, £54 with a 10% pre-stretch. Kirschbaum Max Power Rough, the 1.25 at £54, no pre-stretch. I'd be really interested to see if anybody's actually done this before. I'm sure someone has, but I'm not sure it's like a real mainstream hybrid. That said, what I am interested to say is, what have you hybrided Solinco Confidential with? What tensions? What did it give you? And if you are a Confidential user, did that kind of steer you away from a full bed, or was it just like, yeah, I tried that, but you know, I went on to other things? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I will just say very quickly, tomorrow we're off to the UTS in London. I'm really looking forward to seeing Thomas Mahuch, particularly for his forehand. I think it's a lot what I'm trying to do. The high elbow, the strings turned back, and smashing the felt off the ball. Looking forward to seeing him play. Hope to get some videos to post on here as well. See you there.